Hi everybody and welcome back to Bearcat Update. I'm your host Jason Holland and today we'll be covering this week's basketball games and the end of their regular season, baseball's week of action, and the softball games. Before we get into the action, make sure to take a second to subscribe to KNWT TV on YouTube. Don't forget to hit that notification bell to be notified the second that we post new content. Cue the intro. The men's basketball team headed to Edmond, Oklahoma to face off against the Central Oklahoma Broncos. Despite being down 6 at halftime, it was apparent the Bearcats needed a surge, and they delivered, winning the second half by 12 points behind the 41 combined points between Wes Dreamer and Bennett Sturts. Despite the Broncos' Jaden Wells' efforts, it was just not their day as the Bearcats would take home their 23rd win on the year. But that wasn't the only action of the week, as the Bearcats would travel to Joplin for their regular season finale. However, this one wouldn't be so thrilling as the Bearcats would take home a dominant 17-point victory against the Missouri Southern Lions. But just like the game before, it was the duo of Bennett Sturts and Wes Dreamer that would lead the charge. After the conclusion of the road trip, it was announced that the Bearcats had secured the first seed in the MIAA tournament after accruing a 24-4 record on the year. But Coach Ben McCollum isn't the only one trying to prepare his squad for a tournament. Coach Jacob Mustard attempts to show Noah Cornelius even more tips and tricks as his time in Columbia draws near. Take it away, Jacob.
I'm Noah Cornelius, and this is my In the Bag. These are my putters that I'm using this year. My first one is a pretty beat-in Deputy. This is the first putter I started putting with. I don't throw this one a ton, but if I need like a nice understable shot, I normally toss this one. Next, I have another Deputy. This one's in a little bit better condition. I'll putt with this sometimes. It's a little lighter, so for a more loftier, softer approach, I'll use this. Next, I have another Deputy. This one's my putting putter. This one's kind of special to me. My dad got it for me for Christmas. He works for Ace, and so it's got a pretty cool Ace hardware stamp on it. And then my final putter is my Envy. This is more of a throwing putter for me. I've had some nice approaches with this, and I really like the feel of it in my hand. Next up are my 3 approach discs. I have a Soul. Personally, I don't throw this one a ton. It's more for specific reasons if I'm stuck and need a nice understable backhand shot or something. Next I have my Suspect. This gives me a pretty nice straight line, pretty dependable disc. And then my last one is my Zone. This is probably one of my favorite discs in my bag. It feels nice forehand and backhand, and it's the first disc I've ever bought. Next up are my mid-ranges. The first one's a Buzz SS. This is a pretty cool looking disc. Next I have 2, these are both Truths. This one I normally throw more than this one, but it's kind of cool looking to have just in the bag. And then last I have my Malta, which is just a pretty reliable, overstable mid-range. Next up I have my fairway drivers. This is a Leopard that I have. I've just started throwing this one more recently. I like the plastic, G-Star plastic. It's nice in the wind. Next I have my River. This one I don't use a whole lot, but it's nice to just have that slot in my bag if I ever do need just a straight fairway drive. And then last but not least, I have my Spark. This one I've been throwing a lot more recently. Once again, just very reliable disc, can throw it forehand or backhand, and I can get a pretty predictable line each time. The next section of my bag is my drivers. This Champion Roadrunner is one of my coolest looking discs. Another one of the first ones I've bought for myself, and I just really enjoy the line I get out of this one. I throw with a lot of Anheuser, which is normally the favorite approach with this, so I get a lot of good use out of that. Next up, I have my Vandal. This one's a misprint, so it's pretty cool looking. Same deal as the Roadrunner, pretty understable, but I enjoy throwing this one just as much. Next, I have my Beast. The Beast is one of my favorite discs. It's one I started throwing a lot when I first started playing. I don't use it as much anymore, but still just kind of has a special place in my heart. This Champion Valkyrie is probably the oldest disc I throw. This was one of the first ones I got when I started playing, and I just really enjoy the line I get out of it. A good, reliable driver, can throw forehand or backhand, but really prefer throwing it backhand. And then I have my Undertaker. This one, once again, just pretty cool looking disc. Good for backhands. Don't really throw this one forehand much, but I can get a nice hyzer out of this one, and hoping to start working on a hyzer flip with it as well. And then my last one is the Firebird. This one is my go-to forehand disc. Gives me a good line every time I throw it, and I just like the feel of the plastic as well. The last two discs in my bag are my distance drivers. First up, my Halo Destroyer. This is, once again, just a really awesome looking disc. I throw this one forehand pretty much all the time, other than occasional backhands if I need a really strong hyzer. It's a pretty heavy disc, but I can normally get a good skip out of this with a forehand. And then last but not least, my Daedalus. This one just looks awesome. I don't throw this one as much, but it's nice to have a reliable, understable distance driver if need be. Those are the discs I'll be throwing this season. I'm Noah Cornelius, and that was in my bag.
Thanks, Jacob. Noah's getting more and more tournament ready as the weeks go on. We'll catch up with him again next week. Speaking of another squad ready for tournament action, the women's basketball team also concluded their regular season on Saturday. The team battled through a pair of close wins as they head into the MIAA tournament. On Thursday, they headed to Edmond and took home a 77-72 win as Kaylee Keston again starred with 23 points. But that just wasn't the final action just yet, as they still had a stop in Joplin to make. It was time for them to close out the year in style with a 69-62 win on the road with a strength in numbers approach on offense. But just because the team isn't playing games doesn't mean they aren't putting in the work. So reporter Luke Matthews talked with running back Jaden Brady, who looks to prove all of his detractors wrong. So take it away, Luke.
Devastating and disappointing injury in fall camp. One of the captains, one of the leaders of this team, a guy like Jaden Brady. Jaden Brady, the captain now, from walk-on to gaining his scholarship. It's not like not losing anything, but...
After seeing the team go 7-4 and not really having much to do with it, kind of being on the sidelines, it was obviously emotional for me, not being able to help my team out in any way, but it gave me a different perspective on just how important little things are on and off the field, so I think we can really incorporate it going into the next season. I mean, it definitely makes me feel great, just that those guys would put so much trust in me, and then I'm going to do everything I can to earn that trust every day from those guys. I mean, obviously I can't be out there on the field with them every play, but whenever they're off the field, on the sideline, I can just be that positive reinforcer they can have, and then they can just come to me with anything that they need. Yeah, my mindset's definitely shifted a lot, just from the standpoint of right whenever it happened, it was a whirlwind of emotions. When am I going to be back? Will I recover 100%? And now just being a few months out, about 85% now, I think it's really started to spark my emotion to go back and spark my motivation to be back with the team and just be back at 100% and being able to do what I can do on the field for my team and for the guys. What can the fans expect from 2024 Jaden Brady? be the same Jaden that I've always been, give it my 100%, and then just do whatever I can to help other people out, help the team out. You guys can expect big things from the Bearcats this year.
Thanks, Luke. But Jaden Brady isn't the only football player you're going to meet today, as our own reporter had a chance to chat with sophomore safety Shane Fredrickson. So rather than tease you, we'll get right into it. Take it away, Wesley.
Hello, I'm Wesley Miller for Bearcat Update. Northwest football is nearly back on the gridiron with its spring season set to start with the team's first day of practice Tuesday, March 5th, as the Bearcats work toward the fall. One defensive back, sophomore, soon-to-be junior, Shane Fredrickson, is looking to push the team back to MIAA supremacy.
I think leadership is a great thing, and we've really focused on that as a team, just being a player-led team and having guys that can look up to guys and know what's right to do, and making everybody a leader at the end of the day.
Fredrickson patrols the defensive backfield for Northwest as a safety. He's one of 18 defensive backs on the team, and he said the mindset out on the field is just to keep his eyes up.
All offenses are going to try to trick you and try to get behind you, and as a safety specifically, you can't let that happen. So a lot of eye discipline, and then just making sure you know what you need to defend and anticipating what's going to come.
Where Fredrickson may have been at his best with this concept was with his late game interception to seal the Bearcats' 27-23 win over Missouri Western this past season. That triumph marked Northwest's 10th straight over the Griffins.
The lady who cuts my hair said she saw it, she was watching the game, and then me and my roommate have worked for these people in St. Joe, and they were at the game, and they sent us a text and said that was awesome. So little things like that. It's always great to hear from the community after a big game.
Fredrickson's love for the community goes past game day, though. He is partnered with fellow soon-to-be junior defensive lineman Clayton Power, and together they run their own landscaping business.
I'd say we do pretty well. We have a good customer base here in Maryville, and we even do some jobs in St. Joe, like I was talking about earlier, our customers in St. Joe. And even back where we're from, Clayton's from Overland Park area, and I'm from Lee Summit, which is about 25 minutes from each other. So we even do jobs back there on the weekends.
For the next month, Fredrickson will be a bit too busy for that, though, as he and the rest of the Bearcats prepare for the spring game at 1:30 p.m. April 13th in Bearcat Arena. That's all for this week's edition of the Bearcat Beat. For Bearcat Update, I'm Wesley Miller.
Thanks, Wesley. But if you're in a reminiscing mood, then how about we discuss the rivalry with Truman State? So let's get right into it. Take it away, Tatum.
Last week, we talked about the intense rivalry between Northwest and Pittsburgh State. But this week, let's talk about an older rivalry that doesn't really get talked about as much anymore. The rivalry we'll be talking about is Northwest's intense rivalry against the Truman State Bulldogs and the tradition of the Hickory Stick. The Bearcats and Bulldogs have gone against each other since 1908, but the Hickory Stick tradition started in 1931 when President Lemkin sent to Truman State a cane fashioned from a hickory-grown tree at the birthplace of the then president of Truman State, or Kirksville College as is what it used to be named. President Lemkin's intent was to start a traveling trophy contest, and then from then on, the victor of Northwest and Truman State's football games has kept the hickory stick, dipping the end of the stick in the team's color. Northwest would beat Truman State in the first game of the inception of the hickory stick, 7-0. But throughout the 20th century, Truman would win most of those games by having a 41-20 and 4 ties record against Northwest from 1931 to 1999. Then, just like with Pitt State, when the 21st century hit, the Bearcats dominated the Bulldogs with an 11-1 record against them. But after all that, Truman State would still lead the all-time record 54-33 in 4 ties. If the end of the hickory stick has green or purple at the end of it, this rivalry will always be remembered for being iconic from what the hickory stick trophy has meant to both teams. 2011 would be the final time that the Bearcats and Bulldogs would go against each other in football, as Truman State would move into a different conference, so we won't see this matchup anymore. But the hickory stick trophy will always be a historic reward in the oldest traveling trophy in Division II football. This has been Taden Hensley from Bearcat Update.
Thanks, Taden. Bearcat baseball had a hit-and-miss week as they started off with a 10-2 victory against Benedictine College with 13 hits and 9 RBIs, and senior Caden Deal going 4 for 6 with 3 of those 9 RBIs with a crushed home run to boot. After that 10-2 win, the baseball team would head out to Pittsburgh State to face them in a 3-game series where they came up short in the first game, 10-12. The Bearcats fought to the end as sophomore Trey Morris, junior Ryan Williams, and junior Max Pawella all hit home runs in a hard-fought loss. In the second game of the series, the Bearcats would fall to the Gorillas 0-10. The Bearcats couldn't get it rolling against the hard-hitting Gorillas yesterday, but look to avenge the loss today. We all had a great time catching up with our Bearcats on the gridiron, but just like they're on a break, we'll also be joining them. We'll be right back to talk about softball and to meet the cheer team. Stick around.
Here at Tower Yearbook, we are a dedicated staff of photographers, designers, copywriters, and practicum students.
Our staff is a student-led, student-run media outlet, producing a book with over 300 pages. Be sure to pop out at any of our portrait or distribution events.
So stay tuned to our social media to see what's up.
For years, it has been Channel 8 News, the station that has kept the Northwest and Maryville community informed. Although the image has changed, the mission has not. It all happens here, every Monday at 9 a.m. on KNWT TV. This is Northwest News.
Welcome back to Bearcat Update. The softball team is currently in the midst of finishing up the William Jewell tournament. To this point, they split a pair of games as they fell to the hosts in the Cardinals, but took home a victory against the Wayne State Wildcats. The Bearcats will have rematches against both teams today as they are playing Wayne State right now. After catcher Lauren Gray scored yet another run for the Bearcats on Saturday, we figured it was fitting to understand what it takes to be a catcher. Take it away, Zach.
Hello everyone, my name is Zach Scott, and welcome to a new episode of Do You Have What It Takes? The segment where we answer that spur-of-the-moment question when you look at the TV and tell yourself, yeah, I can do that. In this episode, I'm going to ask you if you can be the defensive captain on an MIAA baseball team, also known as the catcher. Now, what makes an MIAA catcher proficient is these 3 things. First would have to be the knowledge of who the pitcher is, as well as what they throw. Second would have to be a cannon for an arm that can throw people out at first, second, and third base. Speaking of those bases, the catcher needs to have reliability to call the defense in for shifts or pitch calling for potential ground balls or pop-fly coverage. Now, it's amazing and all, that's what an MIAA catcher can do, but what do you not want to do if you want to be an MIAA catcher? Or at least be on an MIAA diamond. Overthrowing bases on steals because you put too much power into it, arguing with the pitcher who has only walked 1 batter, come on, be a little nice to them, and a sandlot favorite of making your calls so easy that everyone gets to hit. That's the first way to not be on an MIAA baseball team, by the way. Now, if you want to be an MIAA catcher, take some notes here for this hypothetical. Here we see Oregon State playing against Arkansas, where you see catchers Tanner Smith of Oregon State and Hudson White of Arkansas put on a catching clinic for you to see. In this first clip, we see Oregon State up in the count after giving away 3 runs in the same inning. To try and give the pitcher some rest, Smith uses a technique called framing, where he will bring the ball closer to the zone for a strikeout looking to end the inning. As you can see, the strike was not actually there. It was a ball, but he brought it in barely, averting the eyes of the umpire. Let's see it right here. Now, in the second clip, it's the final at-bat of the game, which shows White with an excellent pitch call to get the runner out swinging. With the runner on third and the batter cornered at 1 and 2, White realizes that he has 2 balls to spare in the count, so he calls for the pitcher to throw a 2-seamer outside for a fastball strike. That shows no risk, but can surely make the batter swing, as you can see right here. Let's see that excellent. Now those were some dominant and smart catchers. Hope you liked something new rather than the old-fashioned voiceover. Now, you think you can catch with the best of the MIAA? Comment down below and tell us what you think. Now that's all the time that we have for today, unfortunately. My name is Zach Scott, and next time we will talk about what it takes to be an MIAA first baseman. Take it away, Jason.
Thank you, Zach. As previously said, this season on Bearcat Update, we've been granted unprecedented access to the cheer team. Our reporter Jake Walker happens to be on the team, meaning we get to meet his teammates one by one. Take it away, Jake.
Welcome back to Meet the Cheer Team. This week, we're going back to the co-ed side of things, and we're looking at one of our most energetic and fun teammates.
My name is Joseph Dixon. I am a graduate student. I'm getting my Master's of Business Administration, and I am a co-ed base.
Despite not being on the team for his first 2 years of college, Joey joined the cheer squad and was ready to get working from day one.
It's just crazy how I started off and everything was so shaky, and even not gaining a lot of strength, just understanding like all the skills I've gained and just all the, even like the personal skills I've gained since. It's been a really good growth opportunity.
Joey has worked hard for the skills he has. But what Joey holds most highly is the friendships that he's made here in his time at Northwest.
The guys are awesome. I mean, I really felt welcomed, and they helped me get out of my shell because it was really hard for me to really just kind of go out and have fun and be who I wanted to be. Just growing close with people that I probably wouldn't have ever grown close with and being comfortable in who I am and myself. The team really helped establish that in me and really helped boost my confidence that I see even affecting my career and just my life after cheer.
But behind all the laughs is a man who has a great relationship with faith and loves to express it to all who will listen.
When I think about cheer, a big theme, especially in my last year of cheer when like there is so much improvement, really I remember one day I had this burden and I just prayed that God just lift my anger, lift my anxiety, lift my self-doubt, and I did it all for the glory of God. And in James, it talks a lot about praying with intention and what it means to seek out in faith and, you know, asking for the right motives. And I stopped asking to glorify myself, and I said, God, just let me shine through you. Let me make an impact on my team. I mean, really, from that point is where there's this huge gap in skills that was just broken. And from there, I went from barely getting like my IMEs to being able to progress rapidly into my elites, and everything was smacking out the top.
That wraps up our time with Bearcat Cheer. We're going to swing this one back over to your host. Take it away, Wiley.
Thanks, Jake. I'm Wiley Ray, and this is Cade Ricketts. Stick around to get an in-depth preview for basketball's playoff outlook after closing out the regular season. We'll be right back.
KZLX is a student-run radio station where Northwest students have complete freedom during their shifts. KZLX also hosts many radio shows such as Nermageddon, Revive, Day-to-Day Picks, and more. To learn more, visit kzlxfm.com.
Hey guys, I have the new season of Gen 2.
Yeah! Get over here, let's check it out!
Oh, you always gotta blow these things out.
Alrighty, guys, gather around.
Welcome back to Bearcat Update with the X. I'm Wiley Ray. Alongside me is Cade Ricketts. And today we're going to talk about the closing of the regular season for the Bearcats and the madness that is the MIAA tournament. Cade, both squads swept their way through these last two road games, and they're now finding themselves with both byes in the MIAA tournament.
Yeah, I mean, both teams did exactly what they needed to do. They finished the season off really strong, Wiley. I mean, the men went in there, got the 73-56 win over Missouri Southern. In that game, it was Wes who is back. He's back. He's finally back. He's playing good basketball. 20 points in only 27 minutes. I mean, are you kidding me? I mean, that's efficient basketball. On the women's side of things, that 69-62 win, a little bit closer, but getting the win over Missouri Southern, getting, like you said, the 2 seed, which is so massive for them, getting that bye. In that game, it was Kelsey Fields had 18 points. So all in all, way to finish the season for the men and the women's team. And now it's time for, like you said, the MIAA tournament.
Yeah, you talked about that women's game. Kelsey Fields with a double-double, 18 points, 13 rebounds. A big game for Fields. And, you know, coming into the MIAA tournament, both teams get a bye going into Thursday. And two big players looking for the Bearcats in this one are Molly Harnett and Kaylee Keston for the Bearcats, who are looking to do some big things. Keston averaging 12 points per game, or Harnett averaging 13 points per game. And, you know, right there, two big key roles for this Bearcat squad.
Yeah, and I mean, regardless of who we get in our game, those are two players we're going to have to look for to have big games. I mean, I think they're both going to have to shoot above their averages. In the MIAA tournament, I'm looking for each of them to get around that 13-point plus range for both of them. And another thing is Kaylee Keston. I remember in the Missouri Western game, she fouled out early and we weren't able to get back into that game. So personal fouls are going to play a big role in these. These two have to be in the game the entire time. We cannot lose them.
Yeah, not only that, but you sit there and look at the bigs. You know, we talked about Keston and Harnett at the guard position, but you really look at Jana Green and Kelsey Fields, and those two are really doing big things for this Bearcat squad.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially defensively speaking as well. And Green having one of her better games of the season, just the last game of the season. So time to figure it out for everyone, and they're putting things together at the right time. I think defensively speaking, it's some of the best defense they've played the entire season, Wiley, and same thing with offense. It's just this team is in the right spot at the right time, and I think the MIAA tournament is where they can show that.
Yeah, and when you look at how this women's squad looks, it'll be the women's quarterfinals. They'll play the winner of either Nebraska Kearney or Washburn. And so when you look at how those two teams against the Bearcats 1-1 on the season against both squads.
Yeah, and I mean, Washburn was a tough game too. We lost the first time we played to them, beat them the second time. So you kind of think, okay, maybe we figured that out. Nebraska Kearney, a little bit of the opposite. You know, lose the first one, win the second one. Now it's going to come down to, can they do it again? Even though we're the 2 seed and obviously we get to play the lower seed, it's the MIAA. Each team is going to be a competitive game for these women. And like you said, they've proven they can beat us. So what do we have to do to make sure we win those games?
And going to the men's side of things, the men's team once again holds the #1 seed as they look to hunt for the hosting bid of the Division II regional tournament. Just one big thing, like you said, West Streamer's back, but we also got Bennett Sturts. We also have Daniel Abreu and company. So Bearcats looking solid once again this season.
Yeah, I mean, it's the 12th time in program history that we've been the 1 seed in the MIAA tournament, and that's just something to be really proud of as this basketball team. I think in the beginning we were a little bit worried. They figured things out. They got the 1 seed. They won the MIAA, and now going into this, it's just going to be, what team do we play? Obviously, it's going to come down between either playing our bitter rival in the 8th seed in Missouri Southern, or a team we just played recently, or Missouri Western, my bad, and then a team we played recently, Missouri Southern. So either Western or Southern is what it's going to be for the Bearcats.
Bearcats both sit in a good spot, as you said, Cade. Both good teams, and it'll be a great time in Kansas City nonetheless. But that'll do it for Bearcat Update with the X. I'm Wiley Ray. Alongside me is Cade Ricketts. We'll send it back to Jason in the studio. Take it away, Jason.
But that's all the time that we have for Bearcat Update. I'm your host, Jason Holland, and you're watching Bearcat Update, the provider of complete coverage of Northwest sports. We are live every Sunday at 1:15, and you can find us on YouTube at KNWT TV. If you don't catch it live, you can also catch it on YouTube immediately after. As well as Bearcat Update, you can also find KNWT TV's other content. We'll see you next week.